Welcome to my YouTube channel Statisticians Club. I hope everyone is fine. Please subscribe the channel, also press bell icon to receive latest videos. In this video we discuss about cluster sampling, its definition, explanation, when we use cluster sampling and examples in daily life. Cluster sampling is a method of probability sampling. As you know, for selection of sample with the help of sampling technique, we have two procedures: simple random probability sampling and non-probability sampling. And these two types have further classifications. So cluster sampling belongs the branch of probability sampling that is often used to study large population, particularly those that are widely geographically dispersed. So when you use cluster sampling, when your population is large and geographically dispersed, so in such situation cluster sampling is the suitable technique. In cluster sampling, researchers divide the population into smaller groups known as cluster. For example, if you want to study a district, so we select clusters of tehsil, of its tehsil. So tehsil are its cluster. So then randomly selected units from these clusters to form a sample, and from these tehsil means these clusters we select a sample. So this sample is called cluster sample. Cluster sampling requires that cluster should be internally dissimilar. The main condition is cluster should be internally dissimilar as possible, and different clusters should be very similar. For example, this is cluster 1 and this is cluster 2. So these clusters are internally dissimilar. As you know, different color blocks present here, so these are internally dissimilar. There is no homogeneity within cluster 1 and no homogeneity within cluster 2. But look carefully, these two clusters are similar with each other. So in cluster sampling requires that cluster should be internally dissimilar, but different clusters have some resemblance. For example, I discussed that we consider or we study a district, and tehsil are the subunits. So we select tehsil or their clusters. So these clusters are internally dissimilar, but there is resemblance that all clusters are tehsil. So there is some similarity among the clusters. When we apply cluster sampling, here is example from daily life. Suppose you are interested to determine average weight of 5th grade student of a city. You have a city under consideration, any city, and you want to study average weight of 5th grade students. So it is very difficult to prepare list of all students of 5th grade and to collect data by using random sampling techniques, because as you know, for simple random sampling and systematic sampling, you need to arrange your data. But if your population is large, it is very difficult to organize such data. So in such situation, when your population is large and geographically dispersed, so as we read in previous slide, cluster sampling is the best technique. So however, it is easy to obtain list of schools and collect data from subset of these, and you thus use cluster sampling method. In such way we use cluster sampling method. Here is another example. Suppose that a population is first divided into capital M smaller groups. These groups may be equal or unequal sizes. There is no condition of equal size. It may be these cluster may be equal or unequal sizes. These groups are called clusters. Such as these cluster may be blocks of cities, households, classes, anything that you want to study. A random sample consisting of number of clusters is then say small m, and we select a random sample from these clusters, where each chosen cluster is either subsampled or all the subunits in the sampled clusters are included in the sample. Such a sample is called cluster sample. If you want to see videos on stratified random sampling, allocation of stratified random sampling, systematic sampling, or simple random sampling, then click the link in front of your screen. Thanks for watching.